We've had a very busy 2 or 3 days. It's been very positive. Things are happening that haven't happened in our government for a long time. The other night, as you know, we had a vote on border security, and I think we want to discuss this just for a second. But the House of Representatives voted 217 to 185, approving strong border security in order to vote. And they voted, and it was an incredible vote. And we were told that you would never get the House to vote. Well, we were able to get the House to vote. And now the Senate is looking at it. We just had a meeting with some of our great senator Republicans, and lasted for a long time. Tremendous enthusiasm for border security. Safety. They want safety for our country in history because of the internet. And the human trafficking problem is a problem that has gone on through the ages, but it's never been worse because of the internet all over the world. This isn't the United States. This is all over the world. And it's really up to the Democrats, totally up to the Democrats as to whether or not we have a shutdown. It's possible that we'll have a shutdown. I would say the chances are probably very good because I don't think Democrats care so much about maybe this issue, but this is a very big issue. It's spend $285 billion a year on illegal immigration. We have to finally do it. The wall will pay for itself on a monthly basis. I mean, literally every month it pays for itself. So we're talking about small amounts of money. Think of it. We approved, and we got good Democrat support. Military last year, $700 billion. Recently, $716 billion for the military. And here we're talking about $5 billion. So it's a tiny fraction, but unfortunately, they've devoted their lives to making sure it doesn't happen. And that wasn't for what should happen. That was for political reasons. So we are going to be working very hard to get something passed in the Senate. There's a very good chance it won't get passed. It's up to the Democrats. So it's really the Democrat shutdown, because we've done our thing. When Nancy Pelosi said you'll never get the votes in the House, we got them, and we got them by a big margin, 217 to 185. So now it's up to the Democrats as to whether or not we have a shutdown tonight. I hope we don't, but we're totally prepared for a very long shutdown. And this is our only chance that we'll ever have, in our opinion, because of the world and the way it breaks out, to get great border security. Ronald Reagan tried many years ago, got a note from a member of his family, many years ago tried to get a wall. And he fought for a long time during his entire term, and he was never able to get a wall. And I consider him to be a great president. He knew what he was doing. We are going to, one way or the other, we're going to get a wall. We're going to get a barrier. We're going to get anything you want to name it. You can name it anything you want. But we cannot let what's been going on in this country over the last 10 years, we just can't let it happen.
Breaking news, we are learning tonight that President Trump has more than once lashed out at his acting Attorney General, Matt Whitaker. All right, so let's get to the bottom of exactly what this means. I want to go to Pamela Brown and Laura Jarrett, who are breaking the story. Pamela, let me start with you. What can you tell us?
Well, Aaron, on at least 2 occasions in the past few weeks, we have learned that the president has vented at his acting attorney general, Matt Whitaker, about the Michael Cohen investigations. The president, angered by federal prosecutors referencing him in crimes that Michael Cohen pleaded guilty to. And according to multiple sources, Aaron, Trump was frustrated that prosecutors that Whitaker oversees filed charges that made him look bad. Now,
That's right, Aaron. So there's at least 2 discussions that we know about. So the first took place a few weeks after Whitaker took over for his former boss, Jeff Sessions. And Trump was angry after the special counsel, Robert Mueller, charged Michael Cohen with making false statements about the Trump Tower project in Moscow. We all remember that in late November. And you recall part of the prosecution description at the time was that Cohen talked with the president about the project well into the election season, contrary to his congressional testimony. Then, over a week later, federal prosecutors in Manhattan implicated the president in campaign finance charges officially in those charges that were brought against Cohen, describing how the president directed Cohen to make the payments in that sentencing memo. Well, it was pretty explosive. Now, Trump and his attorneys maintain that these payments are not illegal. Of course, other experts fiercely disagree. And the innuendo, the president was involved. The Justice Department, Aaron, declined to comment for this story.
All right. So, Pamela, on some level, I guess it feels like this could be Jeff Sessions all over again.
Right. I mean, that's a good point, Aaron. It certainly does. The president, as you noted, had on numerous occasions gone after Sessions publicly and privately for recusing himself and not controlling the special counsel probe. And Whitaker, he had an acting attorney general who had publicly criticized the probe, the Russia probe, in TV appearances. And just this week, Whitaker refused to recuse himself from overseeing the Russia probe. He rejected an ethics advisor review that said he would not be perceived as impartial because of his public comments. And then we learned this week the president's nominee to replace Sessions, William Barr, had sent a memo to Justice in June laying out why the special counsel should not investigate the president for obstruction. We learned this week that Barr discussed the memo with the president and mentioned it would likely come up during the Senate confirmation hearing.
So, Laura, what has Whitaker's role been in connection with these investigations? That's obviously going to be very crucial here for the president and for the country, for the citizens.
Absolutely. That's been the question all along. Since he came into office in November, it's always been an issue of what exactly has he been up to vis-a-vis the Mueller investigation. And until this week, Whitaker had actually not been briefed about the investigation, sources tell us. But he was given a heads up about the fact that the Cohen plea was coming in late November. And we learned this week that Whitaker will soon get a briefing now that he's done that ethics review, as Pamela mentioned, and he's decided for himself not to step aside from the investigation. Of course, the Deputy Attorney General's office, Rod Rosenstein, still manages it day to day, but those two could clash because Whitaker is now in the driver's seat. And so if they disagree with anything, Whitaker would overrule him.
All right. Thank you both very much with this new development, significant development here is on the acting attorney general. So, April, what do you make of this, right? I mean, the two instances that Laura and Pam just walked through, right? The president being implicated in Trump Tower project in Moscow and the hush money payments to mistresses right before the election, right, in the final days before the election. So, what does this mean that the president is weighing in on these things?
The president is very upset. I mean, and of late, when is the president not upset? But you've got to remember, one of the reasons why he's upset is because he distanced himself from this. He looks bad. You know, we keep going back to that audio and that video of when the president was on Air Force One saying he had nothing to do with those payments. And then we now have these tapes from Michael Cohen. We've heard some tapes. And if we've heard just very little, imagine what they have within the investigation. And you have to remember this. Michael Cohen, even though the president tries to dismiss and diminish his relationship to him, Michael Cohen was very critical to this president for a number of years. He understood about, he knows what's going on with the foundation, the alleged illegal activities with the foundation, with the Trump Foundation. He also knows the Trump Tower Russia meeting. And, you know, Michael Cohen, and people forget, Michael Cohen also brought to the president very key people that the president really relied on. Some people may be unscrupulous, some people may be professional. But he also, Michael Cohen was also the person who brought a lot of the black thinkers or leaders that the president would like to call to him. So this president doesn't like it, but there are too many tentacles that intertwine both of them. And he may be upset, but he's upset because it's being revealed.
America is on edge because the federal government may shut down because President Trump says he needs to be, quote, stronger on immigration. But when you actually look at his own history throughout his entire career, there's huge hypocrisy. And that is our special report to dig in deeper, as this may be what everyone's talking about this weekend. There's actually new reporting that reveals Trump has a decades-long history of hiring undocumented and foreign workers that's in opposition to his public rhetoric.
We will build a great wall, and we will put an end to illegal immigration.
We will buy American, and we will hire American. When American workers win, America as a country wins.
That's Trump in recent years as a politician right through tonight. But his own business practices show something very different. You need to know this. Whatever you think about immigration, it goes all the way back to the 1980s with Trump Tower itself.
We purchased a site with an old department store on it, the old Bonwood Teller store on 5th Avenue and 57th Street next to Tiffany, and we had to really take the building down. We've employed 5,000 construction workers. There'll be many people employed in running the building. I think it's a vital step for New York.
Okay, but who were those people? What Trump never mentioned was the construction crew included 200 undocumented Polish immigrants, which helped clear the whole lot for Trump Tower, where he continues to live with his family today. Trump reportedly sought the undocumented crew out, paying them half the union wage. And one of the workers said, quote, "We worked in horrid, terrible conditions. Frightened illegal immigrants didn't know enough about our rights." And things got ugly over unpaid wages. Trump dragged into court over this, even though he would testify that he said he didn't know the workers were undocumented, but he had to settle the case for over $1 million. Recent reports show that wasn't Trump's only run-in with the undocumented immigrants that he now claims are worth shutting down the government over. 2 undocumented workers coming forward about their experience recently working at his golf club in New Jersey. NBC's Kate Snow talked to one of them.
How did you get the job without any documentation?
I told them that I don't have papers, I don't speak English, and that I was an immigrant. They said, no, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Another saying there are many people without papers. Now, when prompted about what made them want to come forward, risking deportation, they said it was really the way Donald Trump talks and governs and the harsh language he uses against all kinds of immigrants.
They're bringing drugs. They're bringing crime. They're rapists.
These aren't people. These are animals.
When you prosecute the parents for coming in illegally, which should happen, you have to take the children away.
This is about tonight's wall, but it's much broader. Consider the other contradiction with Trump always saying he'll get jobs back to American workers.
We will follow 2 simple rules: buy American and hire American.
But businesses owned by Trump or bearing his name have actually hired over 500 foreign workers. That's since he launched his political campaign, and they use visas for foreign workers, which allow employers to hire them when they cannot find American ones. Now, some people think that's a fine policy. Trump's Mar-a-Lago requested permission to do it for 78 people in July. And just 2 weeks ago, Eric Trump's own winery wanted another 6. That's the same winery where Trump held a campaign event saying Americans need to take back their jobs from guess who? Foreigners. Now, not only have Trump's properties rely on this kind of visa program, they've actually expanded it. It was this March, again. We're about to have a government shutdown over this kind of thing, but Congress included this in a spending bill that Trump's Homeland Security Secretary now gets the right to issue more of these kind of visas, and she did.